I'm ready. When you're ready, just go.
Welcome back to another episode of Sober Black Girls Club podcast with your host, J. Nicole.
I did that again. I was talking over you. I'm sorry.
No, we're keeping this. Don't edit this. Welcome back to another episode of Sober Black Girls Club podcast. Your host, J. Nicole and Katie. Katie, what's up?
Hey y'all. So Jay is so tired, and that's why we're laughing. You know what you need to do? Because this is what I've been doing. Yes, I like fresh coffee, but I realized just having like pre-made coffee, like from Starbucks, like we get it from ShopRite, or not Trader Joe's, but ShopRite, Whole Foods maybe. Just the pre-made drinks, and just having it in your fridge, and when moments like this, you can just guzzle it. Pause.
Happy Pride. Pause.
But it is Wednesday. The moon is in Cancer. It's the first day of Pride, so I'm feeling pretty good. I'll be on Instagram and looking at all these beautiful queer couples and be like, damn, that's sad. But other than that, I'm really happy. It's just
wait, you think the beautiful queer couples are sad?
No, I'm sad. My love life is sad. Not them. They're not sad. I mean, wow. I can't, I'm like, why is this month gonna be so emotional for me? But anyways, I know it's been a while and it's all Jay's fault.
Yes, it's my fault. It's my fault. We've been AWOL. I took both of our microphones. I said we're not going to be able to record, and yeah.
No, I'm just joking. It's actually not Jay's fault. We did record actually like a week ago, but I didn't like the episode, so we kind of 86'd it. And then, oh my gosh, we were supposed to record on Saturday, and I woke up. Yo. Literally, Jay texted me at like 8 maybe in the morning or something like that, and we were supposed to record at like 10 a.m. or something. And literally, I didn't wake up until like 9:52, and literally, I called you at 9:53 once I got your text again at 9:50 saying, "Are we still recording?" I'm like, yo, I overslept. I haven't overslept since like high school.
Like I told you, sometimes we need that, and I only was texting you again because in our relationship, I'm the non-texter backer quick enough person. So when you didn't hit me for like an hour or something, I'm like, man, is she good? This is really unusual. So for me, you would have just figured like, yeah, I probably saw the message. I just texted my friend yesterday. She texted me May 15th. And I just texted her back yesterday because I thought about her. And I was like, oh, I wonder. And I'm like, oh, she texted me like, and I went back. I didn't even know it was that far back. But I would tell Tanya what the message was, talk about it. And then I just get completely sidetracked and never respond back to the person. So my bad, y'all.
You should be ashamed of yourself. Actually, you know what? People like Jay, you know what it is? Because I am I am a texter. I'm a texter, I'm a communicator, I'm a FaceTimer, I do all that stuff. But I do have like some friends who are not like that, and it makes me like sad. Not necessarily you, but when they do it, so then I get really mad, and then I just don't text them ever again. And then they text me like once they see, like then they text you like a month or two later, and they're like, hey. I'm like, no, I don't like that. I'm like, I don't like that. That's actually really.
I don't like it. I don't like
for you because we're friends. But we have a job to get done. Like, you know what I mean? Like we work together and we're friends, but like our relationship started with the SBDC. So I don't take it like personal, but with my friends, like people who vowed to love me forever and treat me like the queen that I am and be nice to me and, cherish me, like you taking 2-3 out. Girl, I ain't texting you anymore. And once I'm done like texting you, I'm done texting you. Like I'll respond back to you, but you will never hear from me again first. And I know.
Oh, first. That's what it is. Okay. And anybody out there that's interested in dating Katie, take notes because you're going to get your head cut off too.
You're fine. A lover not text me, you're the F right.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Right. I'll be a lover, you're the F right. Girl, this is not supposed to be an episode about relationships, but let me say real quick. My friends be telling like, I don't want to judge. You know what? I think it's okay that we just accept how we want to be treated and loved. And I'm just joking. Like I was being extra. Like, I was being extra before. Of course, there's boundaries. Of course, like I know my friends are busy. So I'm joking, but I'm not gonna say it doesn't like hurt a little bit. But I know they're not doing it intentionally. And I will say that these people, typically the two I'm thinking about are Geminis, and one is a Gemini, one's a Sagittarius, and y'all just don't have. And you're a Sagittarius too, Jay. And or maybe I shouldn't say this about you, but I'm saying about them. They don't have they can't focus on one thing. They are just like everywhere at all times doing multiple things. So I kind of like, I don't really take it personal. I'm just joking. But a lover do that? Yeah, the F right. I will 86 you, block you on every single social media channel, on my phone, on my iPad.
Not the iPad too.
I will unconnect you from my Apple Watch. Okay.
Wow, that's wild. See, the thing about me though is that and I've done this to you before too. I will talk to you on the phone for hours. Like I will call you if we need to talk. I will call you and we'll talk. Like I'm just a verbal person. I like texting, but for some reason, I don't know what it is. I've been working on this for years. Like I will see the message and I'm like, oh, Katie said this. That's what's up, man. Da-da-da, or say something. And then I just don't respond. Like I'll respond, but not to the person, like, in writing. So I prefer phone calls. So if you want to reach me, then just call me and I'll answer and we'll talk. That's how it goes.
Well, thank you, y'all, to everyone who's listening. Thank you for
bearing with our intro.
Right? All right. So what are we talking about today?
We are going to be talking about periods, menstrual cycles. I will say my friend just dropped a podcast episode and I don't know how we're going to feel about this, but the title of it was menstrual cycle, but cycle was spelled like psycho with an L.
Was it a man?
Yes. They do have females on the show as well. They have a female co-host and they have girls in the background that are part of the cast as well. But I just saw it yesterday. I didn't get a chance to watch the episode, but I saw it pop up and I was like, that's a good play on words. I said it to Tanya, she's like, oh my goodness. I'm like, no, it's true. Like menstrual cycle. I be feeling psycho, so I'm not offended. What about you?
I mean, I don't get offended. I don't get offended by anything that men say because usually it don't make no damn sense. So let's see. And usually, oh no, this is your friend. Let me not talk shit.
No, go ahead. He can say it, trust me.
Usually, I feel like men are always talking about woman emotions, and it's like, one, y'all don't even know how to express yourselves, but you have all these emotions inside, and you guys act psycho, and y'all don't even have menstrual periods. Y'all don't even
have man. Now we playing on words.
Like, and y'all be acting crazy all the time. Let's get into it, right? All the violence y'all be doing. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna take it here because it's not gonna be one of those episodes. But let's get into it, please. Like, y'all don't even have any excuse to be acting crazy. Let's be real, but you still do. So, next. Anyways, so Jay and I are gonna be talking about our experiences, and because I feel like the topic of menstrual cycle and sobriety doesn't get talked about enough, and I think it's so important. So let's talk about it. Let me tell you my experience, and I definitely told you the story before in the past. So before I got sober, I used to think that I didn't have a bad menstrual experience. I used to think that, nope, I'm fine. I don't get cramps. I'm good. This and that, blah, blah, blah. The first month of my sobriety, I was working, I was in court, and I just started to cry in front of the judge, and I didn't know why. I remember leaving my apartment because I lived maybe 10 minutes away from the courthouse, so I could easily walk there, and I remember crying, walking, feeling like doom, feeling like death, feeling like just an eerie feeling, but I was a little hopeful because I was like, I'm gonna be with people in the courthouse, so maybe I will feel better. Just, having people around you just makes you feel better. I get into the courthouse, I get into the courtroom, the judge calls my case, my caption, and we're in front of her, and I just started crying. And I'm like, holy, and she and the clerk is like this. So she and the clerk are looking at me, and the clerk is like, are you okay? And I'm like, didn't know what to say because I didn't know what the problem was. I didn't know why I was feeling like, I literally felt like death. I literally felt like a corpse. I don't like, so I just made up the thing that I shouldn't have made up. I didn't know what to say. I was like, and rest in peace, Grandma. I mean, she's already passed away, but I just said my grandma just passed away because I didn't know what to. My grandmas are not, they're already, in peace, and heaven, so it was all good. And she was like, oh my gosh, you should have called the courthouse. We would have just adjourned the case. You didn't have to come in. Don't ever blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, all right, fine. So she lets me go. We adjourned the case. And then I'm walking back to my apartment and I'm like crying. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Long story short, I finally was like, I have to call the ambulance and go to the ER because I didn't know what was wrong with me. And yes, I am that girl that I go to the doctors for everything. Urgent care knows me. The ER knows me. I just, if I feel any ounce of something that scares me, any ounce of pain, I'm at the doctor's. So, we are doing the initial test where like they're asking questions, your weight, your height, and then they asked me like, I believe it was the doctor at that time. The doctor came in like, when was your last menstrual period? And I was looking at him like, menstrual period. I was like, I'm on my period right now, and he's like, I think that's what it is. The angels were singing. I just conquered a math problem. Like I figured it out, and I'm like, this makes so much sense. So all along, I thought that I didn't have I didn't get cramps. I didn't experience feelings of depression, anxiety. The truth is, I was just always drunk. Like I didn't know what when you're constantly drinking, you don't know if your stomach ache is due to cramps or maybe because you're drinking a lot. Like, you know what I mean? You can't. The feeling is kind of the same. I used to always have stomach pains when I was drinking, heavily drinking.
Listen, yeah, I gotta say that I have had terrible periods since the beginning. So, but the way I can correlate as far as like sobriety and menstrual cycles and all of that is, one, I feel like I was more drunk when I had my period, and I think it's because you're losing blood or something like that. People were saying, but I used to really hate being hungover and like having a period. It was just like a really bad experience, and I remember feeling like, dang, like I don't want to not drink because I don't feel good because of my period. And so that would result in sometimes I took ibuprofen 800 or like Tylenol 3 and then would like drink so that I can like go out, but not trying to make myself feel better. But that was the definitely relation there. I don't know, you were missing out. God bless you for not having to experience that. But I'm talking about days off. I always would miss the work on the first day or like school. I would always be in like the nurse's office. Like me and two of my best friends, like we would all be like, and still to this day, we just recently started getting better, but we would be like super sick, like sick. Like, yo, I can't do anything. This is a funny story. High school basketball. I told you guys about that, balling, all that. Outside of the school, a couple of guys. I mean, no, but seriously, I was, I had practice and I had a real tough high school coach. So I remember texting my friend or calling my friend beforehand, before practices, like, listen, like I got my period, like I feel terrible, but I know he's not going to like accept that as an excuse as to why you can't practice. He wouldn't. So I told her during practice, I'm going to say, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. And then I'm going to go in the bathroom. I'm going to put water on the floor and put paper towels on it. And I'm going to lay next to it. And then like after a couple minutes, I want you to say, hey, like, where's Nicole? Like, what's going on? Worked perfectly. She went in, they came in, they saw me laying down, and I got to go into the trainer's office and sleep for the rest of practice.
That is so crazy. What?
No lie.
That is so crazy that you had to go through that. And I feel like, of course, it had to be worse then than it is now. I feel like now we're maybe opening, just the fact that like women give birth and have to go back to work for 12 weeks later. Like, are you nuts? I didn't know a whole effing decade. Maybe like a hope.
When my kid graduates high school, I'll be returning back to the workplace. That's what women should say who give birth.
The fact that you had to even create a plan, and then for the men, who are listening to the podcast, aka your friend who should be listening to this episode, you see how they went, psycho. Like, hello, imagine like going through all this pain, all this discomfort, and it's still having to perform in the world. Like, for me, I don't fake that stuff anymore. When I'm at work and I have my period, and they always say the same thing the first 2 days. Why are you not your cherry self? And I just say flat out, I got my motherfucking period. I don't say motherfucking, but I say I got my period. I tell them, because y'all not gonna be thinking I'm gonna be performing 24/7, acting like everything is all good when I shouldn't even be here. I need to be at home under my covers watching Judge Mathis, okay, taking care of myself. I am an emotional wreck. I am sad. I'm oversensitive, and you are asking me why am I not happy? I don't look like you don't look like your happy self. You don't look so cherry. What?
Yeah, it's rough. I think that, you know what? I agree with you as far as like having to try to do so much and still keep going with it all. But I remember like when I was a lot younger, like I say like high school and all that, I don't really remember the emotional part as I definitely do the physical part. Like I was physically just messed up. Everybody knows. My brother just said to me the other day because he was telling me like he got a new house, and he was like, it was his birthday. So I FaceTimed him at 8:00 in the morning. I'm like, oh, happy birthday, this and that. He's like, yeah, I got my new house and this and that. He's like, oh, I don't know if I want to have like a housewarming or if I just want to have people, I was like, no, yeah, have something so people can bring you stuff. He was like, no, I think I want it to already be done. I was like, well, then don't have something where people bring stuff then. I don't care. He was like, I was like, you know what? I'm sorry. I just got my period. He was like, he's like, everybody gets their period 1 week out of the month. I think that you don't have your period 1 week out of the month. I was like, all right, have a good day. Happy birthday.
But wait, let's get into it though, because again, having a period is not just that 1 week. And I'm saying
exactly.
I'm saying 1 week, talking generally. I know people have different period spans, and I'm not trying to X you out of this conversation. Hello, there are 4 phases of a menstrual cycle. I cannot pronounce 2 of them. I know the other 2 is called menstruation and ovulation. And I know the one before menstruation, whatever that period is called, it's like all that stuff is like hormones acting. And we're not a doctor, we're not scientists, we're just talking from our own personal experiences. And I don't really care to know like all the scientific terms, but it's a relief to know like, oh no, I'm not bugging. This week is the week you're gonna have the most energy. This week you might feel a little fatigued. This week, you might experience depression, anxiety. And this week you might want to get like, crazy, like whatever. So don't blame it on me, blame God. You know what? Let's be honest. Because I feel like everyone is so religious. Like, even, should I get into this? Oh no, I'm not. I don't know if this is apples and oranges, but I just feel like people are always like pro-life and pro-God and pro-religion, and then like all the natural stuff that like if you believe all this stuff is from God, why don't you believe that this stuff is a product of like God? And I'm not religious, but I'm just saying, to me it's a hypocrisy of like, I didn't create this, I didn't ask to have this cycle, have this, I don't want to call it a
I know you won't call it a problem. So I learned with Tanya.
Please leave that dog alone.
So with Tanya being pregnant and just like going through that whole process, you learn more. Or I learned more about periods and like what it actually like is for. And to my understanding, again, we're not doctors and all that. That's what it's for. And so it's just based upon if you for having babies, like to be able to create babies. So like if there is not a sperm meeting your egg, like certain things happen, like your lining is getting thicker, then your lining has to shed. And then like if you don't conceive, then this is why it just continues to happen, because it's like your body, the eggs and stuff are just like, oh, did we conceive this month? Okay, we didn't. Let's shed everything. That's why when you're trying to like get everything lined up to work, where sperm, if you're going through fertility or just if you're just having sex and you get pregnant, this is what happens. It's just all about like the timing and where you are and the ovulation and all of that. So that pain that we're feeling and stuff, it's legit, like all working together for that purpose. Like,
are you saying during Pride Month? Because what do you mean sperm? I'm like, what if sperm don't have a Pride? So you saying that
you're going through it then?
So wait, are you saying that I'm just flabbergasted. So wait, so basically are you saying that naturally it's a natural selection that lesbians or people who don't, I don't know, have relations with people who have sperm, I don't know, it's like are bound to experience the most pain during their menstruation or the menstrual cycle?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the whole point of the menstrual cycle is to have children. And so like if it doesn't line up where sperm during your ovulation time meets your egg, then you're just going to keep going through this process. That's why women don't get their period when they're pregnant, because that was the point. And so now we're here. Everything that would, like, your lining's not needing to shed, like your eggs aren't needing to do, like, all of that's not needed because you are carrying with child. But when your body sees like, oh, no child, no fertilized eggs this month, let's shed everything. That's when you actually start like the bleeding and like going through all of those things. So that's kind of, it's a long, like, honestly, when you talk about when a woman's due date for her baby, it's based on 2 weeks before your missed period. Because again, when we talk about how long our periods and stuff are, like before the actual bleeding, there's a lot happening. Because that's why they even say that the child's date of birth, the week that their due date is based on 2 weeks before you even miss your period.
All right. So, okay.
It's a lot. And again, I'm a little rusty. It's been a couple months and weeks and stuff. But when I learned all that, it was like, okay, now I understand more internally what's happening and why we're having all of this stuff going on.
Okay, I get it. All right, and it's forget my forget my comment about lesbians having the most pain. I understand now, and this is not the first time I'm hearing this, but it's coming back to me. I get it. All right, well, so I guess like so now that I'm thinking, I'm like, what are the two important things? So since 2020, I've been taking better care of myself. I've been I have had more interest in my menstrual cycle, right? So the two important things that I want to share, and I want to hear about you, like what are two important things about your cycle that you learned, discovered, practice that really worked for you? For me, the game changer was understanding my cycle and again tracking them. You know, there's a lot of apps and I'm not going to name them because hello, no fee sponsorship. But you know, using the apps to track it. Don't use PMDD. I've heard some like horrible stuff about them lately. But no, it's not PMDD. Oh, F. No, PMDD is the one I use. It's another one that I don't use that I heard some really awful things about them in regards to this, you know, in regards to the Supreme Court and the, you know, Roe versus Wade. But whatever, you can easily look that up and figure out which tracking apps are harmful and that you shouldn't use. I do use PMDD. So for me, the game changer was understanding my cycle and then acting accordingly, right? So, and it sucks because you know what? It's another thing you have to do. It's another thing that you have to do, and it sucks. But hey, listen. So for me, it's like if I know I'm gonna be really tired this week, I'm not gonna force myself drinking coffee just to be up and doing like all the 10 things on my to-do list. You know, instead of doing 10 things, I'm gonna put 6 things on my to-do list because I already know by like 5 o'clock I'm shutting down. Like I'm not gonna have the energy. Like if I know that, you know, by the third week of ABC month or whatever, I'm prone to like anxiety and depression, then I'm going to make sure that I'm taking my vitamins, that I'm getting a lot of sun, that I'm talking to people who are like, you know, who bring me joy. I'm not going to like be out there and having my emotions so easily swayed by anything and everything. You know what I mean? I act accordingly. I don't try to fake the funk. I don't try to go against the funk. I tell people at work, because I literally say period. Like, so like all these older white men, I'm like, period. I'm like, I have my period. I ain't making up no lie for you. Leave me alone, okay? I am not in the mood. And so those are the two things for me that have been a game changer. Again, just knowing my cycle and acting accordingly. But there's this one thing that I discovered, and I think I texted you about it. I'm like, girl, this is a mother effing game changer. So for me, I don't know why. Like when I was drinking, my period was so heavy, and it's just disturbing because it's like, hello, mattresses, and then like every time I was done with my period, I have to take the vinegar out, the baking soda, the Dawn soap, and it's just too much, right? So, recently I would like put a towel, but sometimes the towel, when I was drinking, it was so heavy, and that's what would happen. Now it's not that heavy. However, I still sometimes will wake up in the past, aka the past month, because I'm about to tell you this new thing that I found. And I would like, even with two towels, there will still sometimes be stuff like on, even with a freaking mattress cover. I'm just like, what is this? Like, this is too much. But someone told me about, like, I don't want to call them diapers. They're called period panties. So there's two kinds. There's ones that's like reusable that you can constantly wash, but I don't like that. I'll be honest. I don't like that. No shade. If you do that, good for you. I like the ones that I can just wear, like they're diaperish. And the ones that I found are from, I should say diaperish. They are diaperish. But I don't care. You know why? Because the last time I had my period, guess what? There was nothing nowhere for 6-7 nights. Everything was good. Like literally, it was heaven sent.
Do you just wear them at night, or you've been wearing them during the day?
No, only at night. I can control myself during the day. During the day, I wear a pad and then a tampon, so I'm good. I'm extra protected. Change them, throughout the day. But at night, I don't know what it is. Maybe because I'm laying down, it just be so heavy, the flow. But I was astonished. This last period I had, no accidents, no nothing. The ones I use, I got it from CVS. It's called Always ZZZ. But what are some things for you that have really helped you?
Yeah, a friend of mine, she swears by the period panties, but I think they might be the reusable ones. I also know somebody that does like that cup thing, which I can't even process that. No shade again. I don't even understand because I'm similar to you where I have very heavy periods. So I'm wearing like overnight size pads like throughout the day. Now, it has gotten better. I think for me, one of the biggest things was I was vegan for like 2 years, I think. And I was like, wow, like my period is feeling like way better. Like what's going on? So I'm like, that's crazy that I cut dairy out, I cut meat out, all of that. I felt great. So then I was like, I thought it was the dairy, but I eat dairy again now. I still don't eat meat though. So that's the only difference in my diet that really has stayed consistent. So I'm gonna have to give that some credit because I was like going through it and I'm just way better to the point where my mother-in-law, we had to stay at her house for 2 weeks while our house was we were closing on our mortgage. And I was really sick in the morning, and I heard her saying to Tanya, like, should I call 911? Like, should I call that? Tanya asleep, like, she'll be fine, like, eventually, but it was, like, really bad. So I would say that. Also, I start to take, like, ibuprofen or whatever it is before my period actually comes. So if I get one little inkling, it might be like 2 days of taking ibuprofen before I even actually get it, but that has shown great benefits. I now step that down to Tylenol instead of using ibuprofen, like a lower dosage, so it's not as much medication, and been just trying to do that. So really, those things and just like watching what I'm eating around that time has really helped because yeah, it was bad. Like I'm talking about like throwing up bad. Like I mean bad. Yeah, like to the sorry guys if you're eating, I hope you're not when you're listening to this. But like the bile, like the like yellow part of your stomach when you're just like there's nothing else here. Always in the morning, like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and then by the time I feel okay, it's time to go to work. So I usually call out because I'll be too sick. So I would say those things for me really, and that whole thing about trying to exercise and keep moving. I just really haven't been able to conquer that because it'd be like I don't think I could actually like get up, and I don't like the way this feels in a lot of ways. So I don't want to be exercising right now. But yeah, definitely that. And then as far as the mood, I'm kind of like you too, where I've just been being more mindful. Like, yeah, I'm probably not going to make plans because I'm thinking I'm not going to feel like anything or being that polite and kind and just getting sticky with people. So I can see though how some people like they might have wanted to like use alcohol or like different stuff to help you maybe feel better, but it's made things worse for me. So
yeah, it goes both ways. I was gonna say that next. I was gonna say that I feel like for me, alcohol exacerbated my periods. That's why they were so heavy. Like the day that I was telling you about me going to court, like that was my first period off the bottle. You know what I mean? So that those emotions were very heavy and deep. But I feel overall, because I have a sensitive stomach, but overall now that I don't drink, I feel like my periods, they're not as heavy. I don't have necessarily cramps. I think that's what it is. I don't really have necessarily cramps. I think for me, it's like the emotional aspect. Like I feel more emotional, and then it's just like the flow, which the flow is annoying. And also, I want to say when you're talking about the cups, let me tell you something. Growing up, I used to swear that I would never wear tampons. Right? It's when I tell you the things that when you look back, you're like, girl, shut up. There's so many things I said I would never do, and then as soon as I did, I'm like, oh, this is not so bad. Oh, this isn't so bad. So I don't want to say I would never use no cups, but honestly, I don't like seeing blood. So I'm like, why would I do this? This would be traumatizing to me to see a cup of like.
I don't understand it. I kind of want to like look up like a video because I can't like in my mind I just can't understand it.
I know I understand why like folks like it for environmental reasons, but why would I just feel like I'm a klutz. Like I've told you that so many times. Like what? Imagine being at work and then like it falls over. I'm sorry. This is
again. We hope you aren't eating.
Imagine it falls over. Then what? You gotta wipe. Everybody got time for that. Basically, I want to end not end the show with, but end like my contribution to the show with saying if you are known to abuse alcohol or heavily drink, I think that can definitely have an effect on your period in regards to like the flow, in regards to like, you know, sometimes I would get my periods twice a month, like just different things. And the flip side is that I know people who menstruate, let's say that, who they didn't know until like they, you know, got into the information about menstrual cycles and started talking to their doctor that there's like syndromes, right? So there's some people who, drinking aside, they just really have really bad periods and it's debilitating to them, right? For them. And they try to cope with alcohol. However, it can be dangerous and tricky when folks don't understand that the reason why you know, this feeling or your period feels so bad is because you have this syndrome or you have this disorder or you have this issue. And really what you need to do is go to a doctor to figure out how to like decrease the symptoms, but you're coping with alcohol, right? So I feel like I have met a lot of women, you know, in sobriety or not in sobriety, who just said that they used to cope with they used to just cope with their periods with drinking. So there's definitely a correlation between how much folks drink and how we deal with our relationship with our periods, our menstrual cycles. So definitely take note of that. And again, you can also always research, you can always ask your doctor, but the information is definitely out there and it's a lot of information.
Yeah, no, it is. As we start to wrap this up for real, I mean, I think the things you said there, I was going to say too, about making sure that you advocate for yourself and you ask questions, because we can't just think that we're like this because we're women and we're just like emotionally out of control. Like these are real things, and hormone levels, that whole thing is a real part of it, and it shouldn't bring shame, and you shouldn't let anyone make you feel like, oh, it's just your period. I've had people say like, oh, you're not used to it by now. No, I'm not, because it's not different. It's the same. Even though I'm 36, it's the same as it was when I was 14. So no, I still feel the same way. So don't let people shame you about that. Advocate for it. When you are considering how you're going to cope with things, really evaluate what it is. I think journaling could be a good thing too, to say, okay, this month, this is when I started feeling like this, whatever it was, mentally, emotionally, physically, and then just track it so then you can actually show that to a doctor or yourself or your spouse or whoever, if you want to say, listen, fool, whoever the fool is in your life, this is real. Like I'm bugging on these days, and it's the same amount of days every month or whatever it is, but we can try to embrace it as much as we can. Try not to cope, find healthy coping mechanisms, all of that good stuff. Again, we're not doctors. I don't know. I just told you guys whatever I knew off the top of my head. Like Katie said, research it. I'm going to ask you, do you have anything else to say?
I don't have anything to say, but I do feel really silly for thinking that lesbians get I'm sorry. That was fucking ridiculous. Why did I say that?
Well, that's just how you understood what I said. It could be what I said.
I just really, I'm trying not to apologize. I feel like sometimes I talk and I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. And I'm like, well, I kind of did mean to say that because that
you
was
didn't mean to say it, but because that's what you thought.
But that was actually, now that I think about it, I'm like, that's actually pretty ridiculous. So, scratch that and just, never mind.
It was funny. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And again, if you're listening to the audio, leave us a comment, leave us some reviews, all of that good stuff. Hit us up, whatever you're thinking. We love getting the messages. I love when Katie shares it with me as well. Whatever you guys are thinking and feeling about the show. Yeah, that's all I have to say. That's all you have to say?
Yeah, girl.
All right, till next time, guys. Peace.
Bye, y'all.